Hi guys, and welcome to Hunts and Bunks. I hope you are well. Be sure to like and subscribe on this video if you enjoy. Today we're going to be discussing our Premier League team of the seasons. So we'll go in position order. We're both playing a 4-3-3. Alex, who's your goalkeeper?
My goalkeeper is Nick Pope. I think Newcastle's defence has been superb this season, and signing from. I think I've always thought Nick Pope's been a very good keeper. I watched him quite frequently at Burnley, and he was very good. While his distribution leaves a bit to be desired, he is a properly good keeper, and it's not down to chance that their defence has been so good this season. So yeah, I've gone Pope in between the sticks for me.
Now, I've gone for a different option. I've gone for Alisson Becker. I think that you look at his keeper stats, he is by far and away the best keeper in the league. I think it's like plus 3 difference on expected goals saved. He's been the standout in the Liverpool team, the only consistent member over the course of the whole season, the only one that can hold their heads high. He makes less mistakes than Pope. He doesn't get sent off like Pope does. And he's just overall a better keeper. And he's the world's best keeper, in my opinion.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I think this is a slight spoiler for later on, but I don't think people will have thought I'd have had him in my team. Um, I think the statement that he's a world class player, I I agree that he's a world class player, but I don't think that that can bump him up in terms of for the team of the season because it is all about.
That was a statement. I'm not saying he is just the best keeper in the world right now. This
Right.
season, he's the best keeper in the world. That was what I meant by that.
Because to be honest, for me, for the keeper, it was between De Gea, Pope, and Ramsdale, who I just think have been by far the three best keepers in the league this season, stats and based on how the teams have been playing.
Stats wise, there's no denying Alisson. If you actually look into
Yeah,
the
yeah,
stats,
he's been, yeah,
he is genuinely like I genuinely don't think this is a mad take. I don't think there's been a better Premier League keeper ever than Alisson Becker.
wow.
Yep, standing by
Okay.
it.
Right, well, leave your comments down below as to what you think about that opinion because that's surely got a sense of shockwaves through the
It's
viewers.
between him and obviously Schmeichel, who I never really saw. So I'm only going off what I've seen, but I think in terms of Premier League standard, he is the gold standard.
It's a
Maybe
very,
Edwin
very
van der Sar, but I think he probably is arguably the best ever.
right.
He has
Okay.
more. Put it this way: he has more of. In my opinion, it's a less shocking statement saying Alisson Becker is the best keeper ever than it is to say Van Dijk's been the best centre back in the Premier League ever. I think Alisson touches that crown a lot, like is a lot closer to that crown, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
Going across
Right.
your
Should
back
we move on?
four,
Right.
right?
The whole back four. Do you want? Do you want the whole thing? Right.
Whatever you want to go with. I was
I'll
going
go
to
the
say,
whole back four. So my right back, I think this wasn't really a question. I've gone Kieran Trippier,
yeah,
and then the two centre halves. After close consideration of the whole league, because as a City fan, I have the bias of going straight to my team as the first point of reference. But my two centre backs are Gabriel for Arsenal, obviously, and Lisandro Martinez from United.
cool.
And then at left back, I've got Nathan Ake. So yeah, it's Ake, Gabriel, Martinez, and Trippier as my back four.
Mine's Trippier, Gabriel, John Stones, Nathan Ake.
Right. Okay.
Um,
So we've
Granted,
got we've got
Stones
very
has been
simple.
injured. Stones has been injured, but the assurance he's seen when he's come back into the team, I think he just is. Even taking out the fact of the start of the season, I think he just categorically is the best centre back in the Premier League at the moment. Even though he's playing a bit more advanced, whatever. Trent used to play right wing, and people said he's the best right back in the league. So I'm sort of getting rid of that. Then I've got Trippier. He was the only one I was considering debating in my head. Him and sorry, the right back and left back because I was thinking maybe Zinchenko when you look at his creative numbers, but he hasn't been fit the whole season, so I gave it Ake. Trippier, I was considering Ben White, but then you look at again the creative side of
Seems
it.
to be Arsenal players coming into this quite often here.
Well, the top of the league. What do you expect?
I know.
Um,
I'm just.
no, I was thinking Ben White because I think he has been absolutely fantastic. But Trippier's just been a class above, I think, anything else in the league. So that's my reason. So I went Trippier, Gabriel, Stones, Ake.
Yeah, I've got nothing to say bad against John Stones, but I feel like if we're going on the whole season, not only has John Stone not really played centre back much, if at all this season, it would almost be like putting Ben White at centre back for the team of the season in my eyes. But
Yeah,
then also, I think just how well Martinez has done this season for United, because there were a lot of doubts at the start of the season. He had a couple of shaky games, or United altogether, they had a couple of shaky games at the start of the season. But since then, he's been a rock at the back for them, really.
I'm still
Five
not
foot
sure I
nine
rate
coming
him.
to the Premier League.
I'm still not sure I rate him.
Really?
I think that you put when Luke Shaw played left centre back for those few games, like he was twice the player Martinez was. I think he's erratic. He's like a little bulldog, and he gets riled up too easy. He's good at defending and being like sharp, aggressive,
Yeah.
but when he loses composure, which can happen with him, he's quite fragile mentally. It seems like in the Liverpool game, he gets run ragged. Like he has to be, everything has to be going well. If something's going against him, you could imagine he would say, for example, he's so erratic and aggressive in some things that it can leave United exposed, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
and you could imagine that at times, for example, the Liverpool game, it cost him. Granted, everyone had a poor game then, but it's just one of them. I think he needs Casemiro in front of him, and that's a statement of Casemiro, not of how good he is, if that makes sense. Whereas a great defender, e.g., Nathan Ake, or I mean, he's got Rodri, but Rodri's a different type player. He doesn't really protect City's backline. That's the possession that does that. But I don't know. There's something about him. Not that he's small, because I don't think that plays anything to do with it. I just don't really like him when I watch it. It's like Christian Romero for Spurs. I think he's horrendous.
Right.
But
I
obviously,
agree with Romero. The thing is, I think
this is better. But
there's levels to it. I think Romero is just ridiculously aggressive in challenges. Like any sort of when there's a player on the edge of the box facing away from him, he'll just go through him even if he can't get the ball. I think Martinez is slightly different that aspect. It's a bit more measured about.
I think we could have Martinez in number like 7 or 8, but that's just me.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, like everyone's, I know he's in a lot of people's team of the seasons. Like it's just my personal preference of a player. I think watching him because as much as you love a bit of aggression, like when you're a fan, especially if you're a United fan, you're gonna absolutely adore him because he's fighting for the shirt, he's being the little pit bull, whatever. I've seen enough of Granit Xhaka to know that aggression only gets you so far. So, anyway, moving on midfield. I think 2 players are cemented, and then there's 1 position up for debate. So I've gone Partey, which was my DM choice, and then I've gone KDB and Ødegaard. Obviously, Partey actually had a really bad game against West Ham, which is the worst game I've ever seen him have. Like he was genuinely abysmal. But other than that, he's been absolutely fantastic this season. He's held down a midfield that lacks physicality in the other 2 positions for Arsenal. And realistically, he's been the whole defensive midfield. He's amazing in transition. He wins all his 50-50s. I think he's a top DM. He's a top DM, not the top DM in the world. Like he's one of the best ones. I think he's absolutely fantastic. I think this season, the reason I put him ahead of Rodri is purely based off league position. I don't want recency bias to come into it because, yes, City seem to be on the up and Arsenal have dropped 4 points from the last 2 games, but this is across the whole season. So, obviously, if at this point you were ahead of us, then maybe it would change. But for now, as of right now, it's a team of season for right now, in my opinion, not team of season that's going to win the league or whatever. So that's why I've gone Partey.
Yeah, so as you said, there's 2 players the exact same for me, and De Bruyne and Ødegaard. There's no question about those 2 really for me because even in Kevin De Bruyne's one of his poorer seasons, I don't even think he's had a bad season, but by his standards, he hasn't been
Thing is,
breaking through teams like he used to.
Numbers wise, he's like up there. Like assist wise, he's like one of his best seasons.
Had 15. He's had 15 in the league already. He's still on target to perhaps break his and Thierry Henry's record of assists. But yeah, he's been superb. And Ødegaard, obviously, he's the first name in this midfield for me, definitely. So
Pep likes to rotate De Bruyne, though, doesn't he? Especially in the league. So who you got DM?
So I've gone Rodri in the defensive midfield, and what I will say about this one is I don't think that putting Partey there is a wrong decision at all. I completely see the argument for it. And this is where part of my bias does come in with it, because when I say bias, I'm I'm not meaning because I think Rodri's like a completely miles better player than Partey. I do think Rodri is a better player than Partey, but I'm saying it because I mainly watch City and I've only got the experience of watching Rodri. As I'm sure you watch Arsenal so much more than you do City, so both of us have a slight maybe lack of knowledge of the opposition.
I think that
as
Rodri.
well.
Let me just say this to caveat: Rodri controls the game better, as in you'll pass it to his feet and his passing will be better. I think Partey's a better defensive midfielder, as in he'll break up play and transition it better. Rodri's the player you play through when you've got 68 to 70% possession. He's going to get a lot of the ball and just spray it about. Whereas Partey is more of a destroyer, physically, I'd argue probably physically stronger and better in transition. That's my opinion anyway.
I do see that. The thing I'll say for Rodri though on that argument is something that I have seen Rodri do a lot better this season than he has in previous seasons. Not that he's been poor previous seasons, but he's stepped up his game this season. Is especially the second half of the season when Pep's done the whole John Stones moving into midfield thing, and then obviously when we're defending, he tucks back in. There's a lot of transitions within the team there. So you think John Stones is coming from the back four, tucking into midfield. De Bruyne is pushing up front basically. So there's one less man. Or at least, especially for the first half of the season, there was one less man in midfield because De Bruyne doesn't do as much tracking back this season. So Rodri has become a better player at breaking up the transitions because there's a lot of players shifting between midfield and back and defensive midfield.
It's different though, because what I mean, like transitions, Rodri's more of an interceptor. Like he'll just step in, pick the ball up. Whereas Partey's more of a 50-50 jeweler, as in the transition will be broke because he'll go 50-50 with someone and knock them to the side. Outstrip them, whereas Rodri's like will actually intercept the pass more.
To be honest, some part of that for me is just style of play. I think both of them are brilliant at what they do, like you've just said. But I think that's Rodri's more about reading the game, whereas Partey's more about disrupting the opposition when he's getting it, like you say, being more physical.
Yeah.
That's just part of what they are. And as with City as well, our press is so high that you don't get enough time to be able to play the pass. So Rodri is all about intercepting because there are not many passes that are on when you're playing against City with how high we press you. I feel like that's another factor.
I think Rodri's an excess to the press, as in he sits while the others do it and sort of just mops up. Whereas I think Partey is part of the press, as in Partey will be there pushing on with a player when the ball received, if that makes sense. But they're different players. I mean, I don't think either one is a wrong answer. Even if someone wanted to put Casemiro in, it's not necessarily a wrong answer. But yeah, that's my reasons for it, and that's yours. Fair dues. Going on to the attacking third, then. I think there's two names for me that are cemented on probably in everyone's team. That is Saka and Haaland. And the left wing I really struggled with because numbers-wise it's Martinelli, but Rashford's been ace since the World Cup. And then the other two options for me were Mitoma and Grealish. Now, I'm thinking about it more and more, and I don't think you can give it Grealish, even though he's been probably City's second best player this season. I don't know why I can't give it Grealish, but in my head it's just like he's not shouting at me.
No.
Can't give it Rashford because he's had a good half a season and done it in other competitions, not necessarily the Premier League. I know he's got like 32 goals or something, but they're all in other competitions. So the options were Martinelli and Mitoma. And I love Martinelli, but I genuinely think I don't want it all to be Arsenal and City for a start. So for my team this season, my final player is Mitoma. I think he's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, Mitoma has been brilliant. I mean, we see this quite often, to be fair. Someone coming out of nowhere and then absolutely smashing, especially with Brighton as well. But yeah, he's been superb. He's just taken the league by storm. He's so unique as well, the way he takes on players. I mean, doing I think it's a PhD or something in dribbling or taking on players will obviously be helping him with that. But yeah, he's been a very, very good player for Brighton this season. I myself have gone with Martinelli. I don't know, to be honest. Like you say, it's another one of those where I don't think there's a right or wrong decision. Both of them have been superb. Both of them are brilliant.
To be fair, any of those four I mentioned, I think, are all right decisions.
Yeah. I mean, I was to be honest with you, when I first thought best left wing in the Premier League this season, and my mind went to Rashford. That's just what my mind went to, and that's just because of how well he's been since the World Cup. But that would be quite similar to me putting Ruben Dias in the defence, for example, because since he's come back from injury or since he's been back in the team for City, City have been so much better and he's been brilliant. He's been top 2 or 3 centre backs in the league easily. And the way he's transformed City's defence has been ridiculous. And that's why we've gone on such a great winning run. But the fact that neither of them have performed at the same level for the first half of the season, you can't do that, because if you're talking about the form of the players, then you might have both of them in. But yeah, no, couldn't quite put Rashford in the team for me. I think Martinelli's just been that little bit better if you think about the whole season.
Okay, so final two things actually. I'm throwing the manager of the season at you now, out of the blue. I'm not prepped for that one, but honourable mention for me is Ivan Toney. I think he's been absolutely superb.
Yeah.
Similar goal returns to Rashford. I'm pretty sure he's played less minutes as well. He's really gone up a level. It's a shame that he's going to get banned in the next few sort of months, because he's been superb, and he's probably on the borderline of a big move, most likely to someone like Chelsea or United. And then manager of the season is between two candidates in the Premier League. It's between Arteta and Eddie Howe. I think Arsenal weren't expected to come anywhere near they are, and same with Newcastle. The reason I'm not saying Pep is they're expected to win the league and they're second. So technically in the league, is that a failure at the moment? Probably is. Only in the league. You've got to admit he's been amazing in every other competition, but that's beside the point. So for me, I'm probably going to go with my boy Arteta, just because Arsenal fan, and we're still top of the league, even though it's not going to last for long, because on Wednesday we're going to lose. But, we'll go with it. I think Mikel Arteta, the fact that he came 5th and then 8th the seasons before that, was only one FA Cup. No one expected the rebuild to go this well. And he's challenged with this City team, who are genuinely just point hoarders. Like, they're just boring at times. So, yeah. I think Arteta's the one for me.
Yeah, I agree. Arteta is my manager of the season as well. There's no question about it. For me, there's two things that come into account when you think about manager of the season. It's how well has the team done, and how well were they expected to do at the start of the season. Yeah. And he ticks both of those boxes. They're the best team in the league, obviously top of the league. And the start of the season, I think top 4 was an aspiration. There was very few people were thinking, Premier League this season. But yeah, and then moving on to my honourable mention, it's got to be Harry Kane for me. Because he scored 23 this season, I've just seen 23 goals. I mean, in any other season, if there's no Erling Haaland in the league this season, Harry Kane is going to get so much more praise for what he's done, especially with how well the Spurs side have played this season. They've been really poor, Spurs. So for him to still come out with 23 goals so far, it's ridiculous, to be honest. It's gone under the radar for me as well. I've had him in the Premier League, but
if Kane had moved to City when the rumours were,
yeah,
would he have scored as many goals as Haaland?
I think he would have scored a few less. Like, I think Haaland's on 32. I reckon he'd be on 29 or 30 right now. I don't think, because it's all hypothetical, because obviously Haaland's been injured a few games this season. So if he'd have played, would he have had more? But yeah, I don't think he'd have got as many as Haaland, just because I think there's something so explosive about Erling Haaland with how he can get the goals. He's had a few goals getting in behind. His pace has done not too many times a season, and that's something I think we'll see in the coming seasons if he does stay at City for a long period of time. But yeah, I think he would have got around. I think for the season, Harry Kane would have broken the goal record. I think he would have got 33, 34 across the season.
On the league now?
He's on 32, so he's already got the joint record in the Premier League season.
Salah.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope he gets injured and doesn't score another goal. Anyway, right. Is that everything?
I think we've covered everything.
Lovely. So, just to read again, my team this season: Alisson, Trippier, Gabriel, Stones, Ake, Partey, KDB, Odegaard, Saka, Haaland, and Mitoma. And yours is?
Mine is Pope, Trippier, Gabriel, Martinez, and Ake, then Rodri, De Bruyne, Erdegaard, Martinelli, Haaland, and Saka.
Lovely. Well, thank you for watching, everyone. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more from us. This has been Hunts and Bunks, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.